there's a lot to your story. Like, you've been through more real life things, like more real life challenges than maybe anybody I've ever met.
Actually, we were in the church, and I couldn't breathe. I was going through one half of it. My parents were going through the other half of it.
I feel like I would have been very bitter, become very angry.
Through a little bit of mindfulness and meditation, you can figure out that, there's a lot of blessings in my life right now that I wouldn't have had I not gone through that stuff. I fell in love with movies as a form of escape, so I promised myself that I would pursue what I was passionate about with my dying breath.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we're here with the Michael, newest member of Rockrose Productions, going to be our client content director here. Michael, thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me, Ian.
Sweet. So I think great place to start would be just you giving everybody some context on who is Michael Sapija, and a little bit of your background. How'd you end up here at Rockrose Productions?
Yeah, of course. It's been a wild journey getting here. Better half of 17 years getting to Rockrose, but I was born and raised Chicago, Chicagoland, for anyone who's going to get offended by that. I was born and raised Arlington Heights, Illinois, between there and Rosemont. When I was a kid, we moved up to Bristol, Wisconsin, when I was about 13 years old, right before high school. I was really sick as a kid, which is something I don't talk about too much, but I had something called Guillain-Barré syndrome, which attacked my central nervous system and had me bedridden for a few years during my adolescence and teenage times.
It's like 8 years, right?
Yeah, it was about 8 years that I went through all that, and so I was in public school, but doing a lot of it from home. And during that time, I sort of fell in love with movies, TV shows, video games, just media in general was sort of my way of contacting the outside world and feeling some semblance of normalcy. And
was there a movie or a TV show that you would find yourself frequently going back to throughout those 8 years?
Yeah, man. My favorite movie when I was a kid was Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Cool.
For a number of reasons, but his charisma, his devil-may-care attitude, his ability to go wherever he wanted, definitely was a form of escapism for a little boy who was bedridden. So I fell in love with movies as a form of escape. They were something that could make me feel excitement and anything other than just agonizing pain and depression. They were what lifted me up, and I got connected with a filmmaker, David Scott Hay, big shouts. He's a published author now. Go look up his books, folks. Nice. He got me turned on to screenwriting. He got me turned on to reading scripts professionally when I was 17 years old. I was doing a lot of reading for him and a company he was working with, Skyland Pictures.
How'd you meet him?
And so, my aunt was working in an office with him after he had just finished making his first feature film. He was an award-winning playwright and had gotten a lot of stuff done with screenwriting. He'd won a lot of contests. And festivals and stuff.
Cool.
So he was sort of like my segue into, actually entering the realm of filmmaking and storytelling visually. So I got involved with screenplays, started dabbling in that, went to film school in Milwaukee, and that was after I bailed on my literary theory major at UW Parkside. But in film school, I sort of gravitated towards trying to impart some of my screenwriting knowledge onto my peers because we weren't really being taught the fundamentals of, creating a foundation of a visual story by way of screenwriting. And I was trying to help people out with that. And once people started getting a knack for writing their own stuff, then the question became, well, how do we make it? We were being taught how to handle cameras, but we weren't really being taught how to handle crews or productions.
Okay.
So people would come to me to sort of help them figure those things out. I established a reputation of sort of being the dad of the film world in that scholastic community. So nice. I was doing a lot of like assistant directing, a lot of producing for other people. to help them realize their visions more fully, right? And that sort of translated into, once I graduated, me going back down to Illinois. I was living in Rogers Park on the northern side of Chicago, PAing for anyone who would have me. My first job was for a show called The Deed Chicago. It was a home renovation show.
Okay.
It was a lot of fun, small team, running around everywhere in Chicago, checking out a dozen different homes from start to finish. That was really cool. And then I PA'd on a bunch of commercial stuff for people like Boost Mobile, Harley Davidson, Nike, Subway, Land's End, a bunch of people, as well as productions for like Starz, Showtime, HBO, Fox, you name it, I probably was there in some capacity. And when Joe Pera Talks with You came to Milwaukee, that's a show for Adult Swim that is sadly canceled since, but I PA'd full-time for the first season. Then I graduated to being craft services season 2, applying some of my culinary passions that I had since I was a kid, to providing snacks and food for the cast and crew. People loved that, but it was a little tiring, so I started like edging towards producing and shadow producing, and getting buddy with the producers and coordinators to help them figure things out that they may have been struggling with. Did a lot of that. And then the show got canceled. We moved on with more productions in the commercial world. And I struck out trying to produce for myself because COVID hit. And once COVID hit, the clients that I had in my back pocket went running for the hills. The industry shut down. A couple of union strikes over the years. I was unemployed for about a year before landing at a company called Best Version Media, and was basically heading up all of their live action production endeavors, fleshing out their equipment closet, bringing them up to cinema grade standards, doing commercial stuff for them. And their priorities eventually like shifted away from what mine were. After the bigger shoots were done, they were focused on more corporate content, and that wasn't exactly super exciting for someone like me who has to stay busy. Every job's a new job. Every client's a new client. I like to keep my boots on the ground and keep moving. For sure. So when the opportunity to contact you guys came upon me, I couldn't help myself. And the rest is history right now. Up until this point, just finishing up the first week, and obviously we've spent a lot of this first week getting to know you better. I've overheard a lot of the conversations that you've had with everybody on the team, so I know a lot of your story, but I just want to use this conversation as a way to kind of capture it and package it up, let everybody else in our community know who the Michael is. But I think there's a lot to your story. I think as I've gotten to know you more, like you've been through some more real life things, like more real life challenges and hard things than maybe anybody I've ever met. And I think it's just so impressive. And I think going back to, I've always forget the name of what was it? It's the illness that you had. Oh, Guillain-Barré. Guillain-Barré. Yeah. So during that time, like, can you explain what that illness kind of did, right? Like you were bedridden. Like what is that? What is Guillain-Barré? So, I mean, it started off with an asthma attack, or what we thought was an asthma attack. It was my cousin John's confirmation. Actually, we were in the church, and I couldn't breathe. It just came upon me. Couldn't breathe. Something was going wrong. My mom took me to the ER, and they flooded me with steroids that would stop an asthma attack, but it wasn't an asthma attack. It was an upper respiratory system infection, and that infection ended up spreading because the steroids shut down my immune system. And once that infection spread to my nervous system, the myelin sheathing, which is the coating around the nerves, it sort of just deteriorated. So my body was feeling everything to an extreme degree. like having an exposed nerve, like if you crack a tooth or something, you know.
Wow.
And I was having just like insane muscle spasms.
And that was just everywhere.
It was
Just
everywhere.
full
It was
body?
everywhere, but it was especially worse like in my lower half, like in my lower back and my legs, my neck. It would be anything as innocent from like a humble twitch to like a full blown convulsion that looked like seizures.
Wow.
It would like crack my back, shift my discs. I had to see a chiropractor twice a week for months, if not years on
Getting
end.
that treatment just had to be a nightmare.
It was insane. It was insane, and for a long time it felt like there was no end in sight. And for a kid, that's pretty hard to go through. But my parents were amazing. My mom's she's a saint, man. She literally slept on my bedroom floor for literal years on end to make sure that I was doing okay through the night.
Wow.
And that is something that I can't even imagine as a parent having to go through. You know, like I was going through one half of it, my parents were going through the other half of it. Them and my sister, like the stuff that they experienced by way of what I was going through was absolutely insane. But you know, we made it out, and we're stronger as a family because of it. You know, which is something I don't know a lot of people can say, because I know that, you know, there are families who've fallen apart over less.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I did not know about that until this week. Like, kind of talking with you about that. I mean, it's not something that you're kind of parading around and, you know, talking about very frequently. So I really appreciate you opening up and sharing, because obviously that's extremely challenging.
No, of course. I mean, you know, I made peace with a lot of it. You know.
Yeah. How did you do that? How did you make peace? Because I feel like if that was me, I feel like I would be pretty. I feel like you're pretty justified in being like, because it was from when you were 11 or 10 to when you were 18, right? And you were basically just bitter. I feel like I would have been very bitter, become very angry.
Yeah.
How did that not happen?
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, because like now I'm so far removed from it that like it feels like a weird story that I tell, you know, even though I remember the details. You know, my current frame of mind and consciousness is so far removed from that experience that it almost doesn't even feel real anymore, right?
Yeah.
But there was one day specifically, because, you know, being in that much pain for so long, you know, it affects your mood, it affects your personality. And I was a really angry, unhappy kid, you know, and justifiably so. You know, I'll give myself that amount of peace.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was hard for the people around me in a big way. And my dad said something to me once upon a time that at the time felt really unfair, because I was going through a lot. But he told me, you know, I know you're in a lot of pain, but the way that you are reacting to the world around you because of it is affecting the people around you who love you. And, you know, that sucked to hear in the moment, but it stuck with me simply for the fact that, like, now I understand that, yes, there are things that I can't control, and I'm going to feel how I'm going to feel. But how I choose to react to those things is, again, it's a choice. You know, how I choose to react to those things is up to me.
Right.
And it is a conscious effort. So making peace with that kind of thing, it was a deliberate and conscious effort, because you can be bitter and you can be angry, you know, and, you know, it's easy to shake a fist at God and the universe and be like, you know, I was robbed of certain things. But through a little bit of mindfulness and meditation, you can figure out that, you know, there's a lot of blessings in my life right now that I wouldn't have had I not gone through that stuff.
Yeah.
Hell, we wouldn't be here if I hadn't gone through that stuff, because my love of movies could have been something totally else. I may have never gone into film production, you know, and that's not to say that my life would be better or worse, you know, without it, but we are where we are, and I'm doing relatively okay. I'm able-bodied, I'm employed, and I'm having a great time doing what I do with some great people. So
yeah, I think your ability to put that principle of, because it's something that I've, you know, learned from different just studies, right, of like Stoicism, that whole philosophy of you can't control the things that happen, you can only control how you react to them. But I think your ability to put that into practice is just very admirable, and learning that at such a young age. Yeah, I guess during that time when you were sick, there had to be moments where you were dreaming of what it would be like when you weren't sick. right? When you were in those moments, in those dreams, kind of what were you doing? Like what did you dream one day that you'd be able to do when you were, a 14-year-old, sick, in pain? Kind of what did those dreams look like of what you would be able to do one day?
I mean, I was a 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old kid with a lot of hormones, so not all those things were safe for work or safe for YouTube. No, I mean, I knew that I wanted to be a visual storyteller my entire life. When I was a kid, it was animating for Disney. That was my big dream, right? But my hand for illustration couldn't keep up with my dreams. So, along with movies, when I was sick, like the big Food Network boom was taking place, and Emeril Lagasse was all over the media stratosphere. And I was obsessed with cooking. That was something that I could do from home. Yeah, and you are as a hobby.
Really talented chef, from what I hear.
You
should hear about this. Maybe we'll get into the gelatos that you've made. Like, this is crazy.
I do be making some gelatos.
yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, you got hooked on the Food Network boom.
Yeah. And so, I did think that for a long time I was going to, go be a chef somewhere. And really get into the food world. My knife skills are absolutely terrible.
I'm sure they're great, to be honest. Yeah.
I mean, I can dice an onion, but I can't do it in under 30 seconds.
Sure.
So, so, I was daydreaming about that. I was daydreaming about being a writer or a filmmaker, or being Ferris Bueller himself,
Yeah, right.
So, that's sort of what kicked it all off. It's those dreams. I was so confined for so long that I promised myself and, had a very earnest conversation with my parents when it was time to start thinking about college, that I was not going to allow myself to feel that confined for the rest of my life by way of, having a job that made me feel trapped. So I promised myself that I would pursue what I was passionate about, with my dying breath. So
it's awesome.
That's where we are.
Yeah, and not to just to kind of put a close. I'm just curious, genuinely. Like, when did the pain subside, and how did what was the solution?
It was a slow and steady process. There really was no fix for it. There was no medication. It was just pain management, physical therapy. I did a lot of swimming in pools with physical therapists. Testing my limits and seeing how I'm doing. The cold affected me really negatively, which sucks because I love the cold. I love snowboarding.
Right.
But winters were especially bad for me. Summers were usually momentary relief. And after 6 years or so, I would say when I was about 16 was when I started feeling actual relief, and I was able to attend more classes in person in high school on crutches. And then around late 17, early late 17, somewhere in there, was when I was able to start really walking independently, and moving around the way that a normal kid should. But yeah, it was a matter of just hurry up and wait.
Just time, no real just fix for it, except for time and treatment over time and patience. So then you go to school, you start working in the commercial world, right? You're working as a PA. What is the responsibilities of a PA?
Oh man, a production assistant can be anything. That's the best part. But a production assistant is beholden to the AD department, the assistant director's department. And they are there to take marching orders from the assistant director, and pretty much anyone who's within earshot. So the biggest duties are setting up for the day. If you've got food coming in for catering, you're setting up the tables and the tents. If you've got a shot getting ready to go off in a public area, you're the one managing foot traffic from the public. You are assisting any given department with what they need, as long as it's not a hyper specialized task, right?
Sure.
Whether it's art department needing you to run a supply or help them glue something, or the grip and electric department needing you to help them wrangle a cable, or go pick up a pony clamp from the grip truck or something.
Seem like very specific example.
Yeah, 1,000%, 1,000%.
Yeah.
You know,
so the jack of all trades, if there ever was one.
1,000%, 1,000%. But you know, it's also the best job in the industry, and no one ever talks about it, because if you are passionate about this stuff, it's where you're going to learn the absolute most. I don't trust producers or directors who never PA'd. I just don't, because they have no sympathy for what the process actually is. They don't know how the sausage gets made. They care about their vision, and that's it.
Yeah.
But if you can see how everyone works and you know how everything functions, the set is your tool, and every single person on that set is an extension of that tool, right? So if you know how to use those tools, you're going to have a better production, right?
Yeah. And I feel like if you don't spend time doing the little things, you will overlook the little things. And the little things are so important. The little things are what cause big problems. So yeah, that's awesome. Like you got the opportunity, get in the industry, doing what you love, right? Like it was cooking or filmmaking, right? You went the filmmaking route, and you were doing it. Then I guess getting to Rockrose Productions, like you were at another job. Like what stood out about the opportunity here? Like what made you reach out? I know, like we've.
I mean, the title.
This,
I'm going to tell you, the title. Client content director has a nice ring to it.
Okay, cool. I just made that up.
You know, I love it, and it's great. But at the same time, it's like when I saw your guys' socials, and I looked you guys up, went to your website, saw the landing page video, saw the cinematography for what it is, the quality that you guys were putting out, you know, was breathtaking. Like, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass here, Ian. I'm telling you the truth. I would not be here if I did not think that what you guys do is some of the best shit that I've seen. So, you know, there's a lot of pride to be taken in that, because there are agencies who do what Rockrose does and does not do them nearly as well. Right? Just in terms of the visual output.
Sure.
You know, even you know, something as simple as real estate cinematography, you guys have locked down to a science. I watch those things. I could spend hours just watching walkthroughs of homes that you guys shoot. But you know, the client stuff is super dynamic. And the visuals are so engaging that it was hard not to follow through with an interview and see what you guys had to say. And, you know, after talking to you and Matt and everyone else on the team, getting a feel for where your heads are at and what you want in the long term and what the big picture for Rockrose is, I mean, it was impossible to say no to.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, that's definitely something that's one of our core values, right? B quality work is bad for the soul. Like, we take the quality of what we're putting out there super seriously. I'm glad that shines through, and that's something that stuck out. And like the job, I think the responsibilities of this role, being those two, but like for you, like why you really stood out for us, had to be like your experience, right? Like you talk about, PAing, like you've been involved in the commercial world. So like that really stood out, like working on really big, high budget projects that we want to move in that direction, right? So you've been in that world, you know what it takes to get jobs like that, what working those jobs looks like. So that experience like stood out right away. But then once we started talking with you, and even like in our application process, I try and ask questions that really helps me get to know and helps us get to know the person behind the resume or the person behind the interview, right? Because everybody kind of puts on a different face when they're in those kinds of conversations. But even just some of the things that you shared on that application about some of the real life things that you've been through really stood out to me. I'm like, you can't teach that kind of stuff. We don't need to get into all that right now, but so that really stood out. And then once we got in conversation with you, you're very well-spoken, super smart guy. I think you're a great ideas guy. I don't know. This is like turning into just like back and forth praise now instead of a conversation.
Listen, you can butter me up all you want. I am susceptible to flattery, my boy.
But yeah, man, I'm super excited to have you on the team. I think we all are. Like this first week has been great. Just getting to know you more. But yeah, I guess like, what are the roles of the client content director? I'll ask you.
Man, I mean, that's a great question. I think fundamentally the role of the client content director is to liaise between the client and the production team, and the distribution team, and to collaborate with the clients directly to realize their visions, help them flesh those out for what they're trying to achieve, whether it's product shoots, podcasts, commercials, whatever it is, and making sure that they are being given the tools that they need to succeed, and that we are working together as a team to give each other the tools that we need to give them the absolute best value that a production can bring them.
Yeah. Yeah, you're exactly right. Like, you're going to be responsible for when a client comes to us and wants to start working on a content retainer, or we have a big commercial production kind of come in, turning their ideas into an actionable plan, right? And a strategy. Like, what is a strategy? It's just a plan of how we're going to get from one place to another place, right? So you're going to be responsible for creating that strategy, right? Coming up with those ideas, and then managing the team to go and execute on those ideas.
And hopefully getting on set and getting to direct a little bit too.
Yeah, 100%. I think you've already done that a couple of times this week, right? We had a couple of shoots in here with Sarah, and you were at the shoot with Alexis, and I think you've done a great job already, just giving immediate feedback to the clients, and I think that's a big thing that we've been missing.
Well, the clients are great. They want to be here, right? We're all here for the same reason.
Yeah.
So collaborating with them and collaborating with you guys, it is a well-oiled machine. Yeah,
100%. And I think you having that experience, like a decade of experience, in this industry, how to articulate the things that we just we haven't learned how to say yet, right?
We're filling in the gaps.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole goal, right? With every new person we bring on the team, we want it to fill in the gaps, move everybody into a more specialist role. But okay, so today's Friday, finishing up the first week here. First impressions with Rockrose. Like, what do we? I'm gonna force you to be critical. Like, what are some of the big things that you think we're missing that we can get better at?
Oh man, putting me on the spot here. I think for Rockrose's benefit, as well as the benefit of the clients and the value of the products we're giving them, a big thing that we're going to need to do is streamline our process to be as efficient of a workflow as possible. And that can look like a million different things. Absolutely. Right? But the biggest one is focusing on a mentality of quality over quantity.
For sure.
Right? We were talking about this a little bit earlier, but there's a significant difference between consistency and volume.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And in the content game, consistency is key. But that doesn't mean oversaturating the market with a bunch of 15 to 30 second clips that are coming out 2 to 3 times a day.
Right.
Right. We don't need that. The clients don't need that because people are just going to scroll past that crap anyways.
Yeah. And I feel like that's that's what everybody assumes is what you have to do. It's like, oh, to blow up on social media, I just need to post every single day or 5 times a day. Right. Because that's what Gary Vee told me. Right. But I think to your point, right, like, I'll let you finish, but I think the quality is where we should spend more of our time focused on.
Yeah, no. And I mean, at the end of the day, like, what I want is for our clients to see each individual product for the value it actually carries.
Right.
Right? Like, I don't want to have one really good product that's then broken down into a dozen different smaller, mindless ones.
Yeah.
Every single one should carry its own message. It should serve its own purpose. Yes, we're still going to break down things into promotional materials and make sure that their audiences are aware of what they're putting out, right? Especially for the benefit of the bigger products like the podcast and stuff, right? We want to draw attention to those longer form things. But there are ways to do that more effectively by creating more original content that actually services the audience as much as it services the end result of the product. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Like, information is great, but entertainment is better. So we want to put that stuff out there. I want to get our clients, out of the studio setting in their environments where they're comfortable, opening up as personalities and characters that our audiences can engage with. I want to build a fan base for our clients, right? That's where the value is.
I think that's one of the coolest things that you've said is, like, we don't want to attract followers for our clients, right? We want to build fans. Like we want to create fans for our clients. And I think that's a very poignant thing to say. Like when you said that, I'm like, oh, he's totally right.
And that's what everyone wants, right?
Yeah.
Everyone wants fans.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Right.
a few likes here and there. I mean, that's an instant serotonin kicker.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't need a dopamine rush from opening up my notifications, just seeing that people liked my stuff. I want people in my comments and my DMs. I want people asking me when I'm having a book tour. I want people wanting to come to my classes that I'm teaching, or,
Right.
you know, scheduling a management session with me, you know, or a coaching session or whatever it is, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I want people wanting to engage with me.
Yep.
Right? And that's what our clients want.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're here to try and guide them towards.
Absolutely. Yep. So putting more of an emphasis, which is, you know, our core value, right? Taking that from everything that we've done previously before entering this content sphere, right? Putting more of an emphasis on quality instead of the quantity, right? Like every single thing that we create for a client, we want it to your point, carry its own message, right? Live in and of itself, right? Be its own separate piece of content, right? Serving its own purpose. Yeah, I like that. I think that's the right move for sure. And just every swing that we take, right? Like if we considered each post that we're putting out for a client as a swing, more meaningful swings, not just more swings.
Right.
Right. For sure.
Right.
Like more power to each swing, I think is the right way to go.
Yeah.
Love it.
I mean, you gotta swing hard. You gotta swing hard, but you also gotta swing accurate.
Yep.
You know?
For sure.
Like, we want to make contact.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, we want to connect. Cool. So I think we've talked, and you talked about like another thing that attracted you to us, and like I think why we are all excited to be here at Rockrose is just the potential, right? Like where we can go. And we've talked about this in previous conversations. Like our mission at Rockrose Productions is to create a platform for creative people to do work that they love, right, in service of our clients. But that first part of being a platform for creative people to do work that we love doing is the only way that we can do that is if everybody's involved in that conversation and where we're going, right? If one person's responsible for making the decision on where we're going, then maybe we're only going to end up where that person wants to be.
Right.
But we want to be like everybody here is super passionate about what we're working on because
they really are. Like, there's really no denying that.
Yeah, we're super lucky, right? Like we've done it at kind of a smaller scale now, right? It's crazy that we're at 9 now. Being like a year ago, we were at 4, but relatively small scale with 9 people, right? But can we continue to carry that through as we bring more and more people onto the team? But getting to my question, what future version of Rockrose Productions would you love to see, like love to be a part of?
Yeah, I would love to be a part of a team that is servicing, you know, high value clients full time and also taking on, you know, larger scale productions, you know, a few times a year.
Cool.
Right? Like whether that's commercials or, you know, TV pilots that we develop for people.
Yeah.
Shouts to the Mater menu.
Yes, sir.
We're coming for you.
Yes, sir.
But, you know, making stuff like that, you know, making stuff for Fortune 500, Fortune 100 clients, you know, as one-off productions for commercials, you know, taking those clients on for social media ad campaigns, for, you know, just social content posting in general.
Yeah.
But then also, you know, having those high profile clients who we are continuing to make those podcasts for, distributing that content for, making those kinds of things consistently, but for fewer people. Right. Like I would love to be able to service everyone under God's sun, right? But we only have so many people. We can only employ so many people. And there are plenty of other agencies scooping up the rest of them. So I would love for us to be able to, you know, do 10 commercials a year and then manage social for big clients, you know, 10 times a year.
Right.
And then have 5 to 10 full-time clients who were servicing full scale,
right.
You know, with a team of, you know, 20 people. you know, under Rockrose's umbrella.
Yep. And then in doing those, right, like we want to work with fewer but do more for them, right? Which I think is kind of the trajectory that we're on.
Right.
And be able to just like execute on the big visions, the big ideas that we have, right? Like just go bigger, right? Just continue to go bigger with everything that we're working on, everything that we're doing, with every new project that we're taking on. It's more challenging than the last, right? It's just stretching us creatively and taking us to new places that our imagination can kind of take us, right? Just as we grow, just removing more and more of the bounds and like the limitations that we have and what we can create. I think
and
would be
freeing up time
exciting
for passion projects, man.
Yeah,
I mean, we're all artists, you know, we're all creatives with our own motives and goals.
Sure. Yeah.
And like being able to give everyone their opportunity to make the kind of stuff that they want, you know, that can only happen with free time, right? I mean, we can be weekend warriors till the cows come home, but the weekend is 2 out of 7 days, and there's only so much you can get done in that amount of time, right? But like, we want to do documentaries, we want to do features, we want to do food programming and bigger shows. Like, we want to do fun and exciting things that fulfill us as much as we're fulfilling our clients, right? And that's the ultimate investment we're making, right? We're going to give our clients everything that we've got as a proof of concept to show what else we can make for ourselves.
Absolutely. And I think like in working with the right clients, like there's almost no better feeling for me than doing something for a client and them just absolutely loving it, right? And then getting results for a client. Like I think I find that, and I think a lot of us find that super fulfilling in and of itself, right? But then also like taking the leap of creating our own stuff, right? And I think our content is the first step in that. But I think you're totally right. It's something like, I mean, we talked about it all this morning. Like, kind of what is that vision, that future vision of Rockrose, right? It's always going to be cloudy. It's always going to be murky. But I'm excited to have your input included and added to everybody else's on the teams,
for sure,
as it starts to take more and more shape. But I think if we've kind of triangulated on anything, it's growing the scale of the productions that we're working on and the complexity, the challenge, the space for creativity, right? With each project, just growing that over time, right? And then when it comes to the content management side of our business, right? Working with a smaller set of clients, but being able to do more for them, right? And just growing.
Because the clients are great, man.
Yeah.
The clients are great.
Yeah.
They're phenomenal personalities.
Very lucky. Yeah, we're very lucky.
We are blessed as sin to, you know, be working with the people that we're working with, because they are ambitious and they are lovely. And they are charismatic and they're hardworking in their own right. You know, so being able to give back to them as much as they're putting out into the world, you know, I want these people to shine, you know, and be able to show the world what it is that they're offering, because that's huge, you know, and that is fulfilling for me in its own right. Absolutely.
Cool. Talking about that stuff is always super exciting, right? Just kind of getting lost in what the future can be. Very motivating, but kind of bringing it back down to earth. So we finished up week 1, kind of got through the onboarding, right? The not boring, but a lot of the talking, right? I feel like is kind of under our belt. Now it's time to kind of get into the work, and I'm really excited to kind of get you into the work. But so I guess, like, what does the next month look like for you? Like, kind of what are the things that you want to be working on within Rockrose?
Yeah, I mean,
for our clients,
priority numero uno is going to be, you know, performing some audits on our clients' contents, right? Like figuring out what they're doing right, what we could be doing better, what the rooms for growth and opportunity are, and developing strategies that are custom tailored to them and their goals, so that we can apply our skills towards their growth. Right. And that looks like different things for different people. But really it comes down to developing a solid and recyclable content strategy calendar for all of our clients. It's
more of like the framework, right? Like, I think that's something that we learned right before you kind of came onto the team, that if you can come up with like a framework for a content calendar instead of just building a brand new content calendar every single month. That's just like one little thing. But yeah, the audits for sure.
It's a big thing. You know, it's the calendar and the release. I mean, that's how you lock down that consistency, right? And like getting that scheduling locked down for like what the shoot days are, and making sure that we can get a month's worth of content out of 1 day of shooting, so that we have 4 weeks of lead time to distribute that stuff while we're developing the next thing.
Right.
That's going to be huge.
Yep.
You know, making sure that we're having consistent podcast output, consistent social output, consistent advertisement growth.
Yeah.
Right. That's only possible if we have that calendar just tightened up.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. And I'm really, because prior to you joining the team, your role was being done by myself, Gabriel, Matt.
It's too much, brother.
It was taking like, you know,
it's too much
percentage of our time, right? So I'm excited to just have you in place to be in it, right? Taking responsibility. And I think you've jumped right into it. Some of the ideas you've come up with, people like for a couple of our clients already, I think are phenomenal. We get
They make it easy. They create great jumping off points. You know,
we are very lucky. We're very lucky. Sweet, man. Well, pumped to have you on the team.
Stoked to be here.
Yes, sir. I'm sure we'll put another conversation out with you in the future.
Hell
All our
yeah.
clients will get the chance to meet you soon. We only got into a little bit of your story, but there's a lot there.
Oh, I got stories to tell.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You order some Yappuccino
sure.
and I'll bring it hot and ready.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But Michael, appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Let's get to work.
Oh yeah.